I'd ask those who would like to ask a question or make a comment to line up behind one of the two microphones, please. And just while people are doing that, can I just add an observation myself to complement what Brett's just said. I've currently got 3 students from Bangladesh. I asked in my class last week, what would be the effect of climate change and increase in sea levels on food production in Bangladesh. They said with only half a metre of sea level rise, 30% of the delta land would be submerged. That 30% produces 40% of the food for Bangladesh. So that 40% of the population are at immediate risk of losing food to eat if we do nothing to halt the development of climate change and its effects on sea level rise. So that to me is a very sobering observation from people that I know personally, because they will be affected when they go home in the rest of their working lives if, as a world community, we don't succeed. Questions or comments?
I'm interested in the reason for starting the scheme next year as a tax rather than as a trading scheme. What would have been the effect if we had done what Europe did, start with a trading scheme? And the other one is, how do the two goals, Europe says they will reduce their emissions by 21% below 2005 levels, and Australia says we'll do 5% below 2000 levels. How do the two compare?
I'll start. And remember this, as was probably better explained by one of my colleagues up here than me, the tax is on the 500 biggest emitters. And it is a permit system where they are buying the permits. To create any market, you need to establish the price at which you are starting. The European market started off with a fixed price as well. One of the downfalls they had is they gave away too many free permits. And one of the things we've actually been able to do is look at the pitfalls that actually happened in the European market. And one of the things we've said is to establish it and get it running. Here is the floor price. You can already go above the floor price of the $23 a tonne if you wish, but there's the floor price fixed for those 3 years until we are in a situation where we have a scheme up and running. Majority of markets start with a fixed price. You go out, you establish a company and you float it, you start with a price. That is what we are doing. The difference here is that we are putting that price on a pollutant. We're not putting that price on a traded commodity like gold. We are putting it on a pollutant. And this, we feel, looking at the examples, is where we needed to be. The original ETS scheme also started with a fixed price, because that's how you would transgress towards that thing. In respect of where we want to go, Australia has quite clearly said, the Labor government said that as part of the international action, Australia has committed to turn this around and cut its carbon pollution by at least 5% by 2000 levels by 2010, which will require cutting, not exceeding pollution by at least 23% in 2020. We have although said that if other countries come in, we will increase this to 80%.
Okay, by
2050. Yeah, by 2050. But it is a global reality. You've seen the hysteria we've got by 5%. Just imagine if we come out and said greater. This is manageable, it's doable. It's not the greatest. I'm not saying it's the greatest, but it is what we believe is the best way forward at this point in time.
But
sorry, I think that's
sorry, if I could let the other panel members comment also, please.
I think we also need to keep in mind that we have a minority government, and one of the reasons why the Greens did not support the previous CPRS was because the government was trying to lock in a pretty weak 2020 target. and the Greens were very concerned that that would make it harder to respond more aggressively before 2020. Now, the 3-year fixed price regime basically provides more time for everyone, including the scientists, to do more work to look at what is an appropriate target. And second, it allows us more time to see what the rest of the world does. So in that sense, what we have, I think, is a compromise by a number of different groups, which essentially allows us to move forward and reduce the uncertainties that business is facing, while at the same time still continuing to debate exactly what the 2020 target should be.
I don't have anything.
Okay.
Let's talk is really clear and just sort of sets the context for what we're doing and makes what we're currently doing look a little bit like deck chairs on the Titanic. We're all moving, which is a good thing, but we need to actually move a lot more to fix the problem. Brett, you presented a great presentation that sort of stopped. If you had the opportunity, what do you think we should be doing now?
Good question. I agree that the political reality at the moment seems to be the government can just get away with doing the bare minimum for the next living on their lives, even doing that. I think if we actually had real leadership from the other side, I think Australia could look much stronger targets much sooner. The strongest target put on the table, 25% reductions below 2000 levels, was all that was modelled. Something like 40% was never modelled. It was never ever considered. The economists don't have the models to adequately model how you do sort of emergency kind of transitions and stuff. It can be done, and it wouldn't take anything like a full-scale World War II style mobilisation. It would take more than 25%. What we need to do for that, but it wouldn't take anything like the World War II style mobilisation. But I think we could do a lot more. But the question hasn't even been asked and hasn't even been modelled. So I think the first thing would be to look much harder at what could be done.
Thank you, lady.